Alright, so here's something that I've been working on for a little while, and I like the way that it's come out so far, so I figured I'd share it with you guys. So, this is a journal entry that the party comes across. It can be shared with the party, um, and it's kind of like runs as an event, choose your own adventure. So, the way it starts is that this pops up, and then if they want, they can have it read to them in the background.
As you and your companions journey through the dense forest, you come across a chilling scene. The ground is littered with the corpses of several men, all of them slain in a brutal manner. You can see that they were travelers, like yourselves, but they met a gruesome fate. Your heart races as you approach the scene, your eyes scanning the area for any signs of danger. Corpses lie strewn everywhere, most of them in various states of decay, having been picked over by scavengers of the forest. You can't help but wonder who or what could have done this. Your mind races with possibilities, each one more terrifying than the last. As you move closer, you can see that the men were killed with swords and axes. Their bodies are torn and mutilated, and their blood has stained the earth. You feel a sense of horror and revulsion at the sight, and you can't help but wonder what kind of monster could do such a thing. You and your companions move cautiously through the area, searching for any clues as to what happened. You see signs of a struggle, and you can tell that the men fought hard before they were killed. Birds hang from the tree, and a stone altar rests still half decorated with ritual cloth behind the tree of the last stand around which the men lay encircled. You also notice that their belongings have been ransacked, suggesting that robbery was a motive for the attack. As you continue to investigate, you become increasingly worried about your own safety. Whoever or whatever did this could still be in the area, and you don't want to be caught off guard. You and your companions keep your weapons at the ready as you move through the forest, your senses on high alert.
Okay, so after that, they're given a list of choices here on what they want to do, and if they've got their character selected, they can go ahead and just roll it from the sheet. So in this case, they rolled a 16 for an investigation check. With that investigation check, I believe that that would pass. Let's go ahead and just take a look here. Yep. So in that case, that reveals the next aspect of the journal to them, and then you can have that as well read to them.
As you and your companions investigate the scene of the slaughtered men in the forest, you start to piece together some important clues. You notice that the wounds on the men's bodies are consistent with the use of swords and axes, suggesting that the attackers were skilled fighters. The men were mostly unarmed and wearing light robes with faded insignia that seem almost recognizable to you. You also observe that the men's belongings have been ransacked, indicating that robbery may have been a motive for the attack. A smashed cart rests nearby, tilted over and nearly flipped in the mud. By examining the surrounding area, you're able to determine the direction the attackers fled, and you're fairly confident you can track them down if necessary. Your investigation skills have served you well, and you feel like you have a good handle on the situation. While you and your companions continue to investigate the scene of the slaughtered men in the forest, you come across a survivor. He is a young man, barely conscious and badly injured. He is hardly breathing, and even a glacé can tell he dances between this life and the next. His clothes are torn, and his body is covered in bruises and cuts. It's clear that he's been through a traumatic experience, but he's still clinging to life. You rush to his side, doing your best to stabilize him and assess his injuries. Despite his weakened state, he manages to speak in a weak, hoarse voice. He tells you that he was part of a group of travelers passing through the forest when they were attacked by a band of bandits. The bandits killed most of the group, but he managed to hide and avoid detection. The survivor is in bad shape, but you can tell that he's a fighter. He's determined to stay alive, but is quickly slipping away, and he offers to help you in any way he can. Despite his injuries, he's able to provide some valuable information about the attackers and their possible whereabouts should you manage to save him. With his help, You may very well be able to track down the bandits, whether to bring them to justice or pilfer their stolen goods for yourself.
Okay, and this leads to an additional set of options for them. So as you can see, there's now just branching options, and the idea is to give the player as many checks as possible in a situation to give them the sense of exploration and freedom. So in this case, let's just go ahead and do a medicine check. So that's a 20, that should definitely pass. So we'll reveal the next aspect to them. And again, we can read it to them.
With your knowledge of medicine, you're able to stabilize the survivor's injuries and improve his chances of survival. You carefully examine his wounds and apply the appropriate treatments, stopping the bleeding and preventing infection. You also make sure that he's properly hydrated and nourished, giving his body the fuel it needs to heal. The survivor begins to show signs of improvement, and over time, he starts to regain his strength. He's grateful for your care and attention, and he's determined to make a full recovery. You continue to monitor his progress and adjust his treatment as needed, ensuring that he has the best possible chance of surviving. Thanks to your medical skills, the survivor is able to overcome his injuries and eventually return to his normal life. He remains grateful for your help, and he continues to tell the story of how you saved his life to anyone who will listen. Despite the odds stacked against him, the survivor is a testament to the resilience of the human spirit. He survived a brutal attack, and he's willing to fight to the bitter end. You and your companions do everything in your power to help him, hoping that he'll pull through and continue to share his strength and wisdom with those around him. Prior to passing into sleep, he tells you his name is Dragmire. He feverishly tells you of the bandits who assaulted him. A group of 12 or so, but maybe more. They wore iron-gray cloaks and were led by a mage in green. The lad can't recall anything more and quickly passes into a gentle healing sleep.
Okay. Let's go ahead and look around. 22. Definitely going to pass that.
As you carefully scan the bodies, your eyes fall upon a small object tucked away in the corner of a clock. Upon closer inspection, you realize it's a strange key. Without your sharp perception skills, you may have missed it entirely.
Okay, we found a key. Do a survival. 22 would definitely pass as well. Getting some high rolls on these.
As you search the area around the attack site, you notice some disturbances in the underbrush that catch your eye. Upon closer examination, you see that there are several sets of tracks that lead away from the area. One set from the ponies and the other set from the attackers. Follow the prints for the ponies. Follow the prints from the attackers.
Follow the prints for the ponies. 17. Should pass as well.
As you examine the scene of the attack, you notice a set of hoof prints leading away from the area. You recognize them as belonging to horses or ponies, and you realize that they could be a clue that leads to some of the survivors or to more information about what happened. You follow the hoof prints carefully, using your tracking skills to keep on the trail. The trail is difficult to follow at times, as the horses seem to have been moving quickly and erratically, but you manage to keep on their trail. Eventually, you come to a clearing in the woods, where you see a group of ponies grazing. As you approach, you notice that some of them are wearing the same markings as the ponies that were being transported in the cart. You realize that these must be the escaped ponies, and that they could provide valuable information about what happened, a useful form of transportation and a valuable trade commodity if you are able to calm them. Attempt to calm the ponies, animal handling.
17 again.
As you approach the group of ponies, you can see that they are skittish and nervous. They shy away from you and start to move away. You approach slowly, speaking in a calm and reassuring voice, and hold out your hand for them to sniff. One of the ponies, a small brown and white one, seems to take an interest in you and moves closer. You continue to speak in a soothing tone and gently pet its mane. After a few minutes, the other ponies start to move back towards you, and you are able to calm them down and bring them under control.
So we gain 3 workhorses doing it. Let's go back and let's follow the prints for the attackers now. 8. Failure. And so... there we go.
As you search the area around the attack site, you find it difficult to pick up any clues or signs of the attackers. The ground is hard and rocky, and there are few signs of disturbance in the underbrush. You search for some time, but are unable to find any tracks or signs of the ponies either. You realize that this may be a dead end, and decide to search for other clues or leads instead.
We can go further back. With the perception roll, let's do the nature check. Nature check is a 20. That's a pass.
As you take a closer look at the area surrounding the scene of the slaughtered men in the forest, you notice several important details. You see signs of recent animal activity, including tracks and droppings, which suggest that predators may be nearby. You also notice that some of the trees in the area have been stripped of their bark, indicating that a herd of deer or other animals has recently passed through. With your knowledge of the natural world, you're able to deduce that the attackers may have been driven to the area by hunger or the need for resources. This information may prove useful in tracking down the perpetrators.
Okay. Good check. 15 would pass.
As you and your companions investigate the scene of the slaughtered men in the forest, you notice something odd about the robes worn by some of the victims. The fabric and insignia on the garments resemble those associated with the local church in Lisbon. The realization dawns on you that these men were likely priests or other religious figures associated with the church. You make note of this observation, and it gives you pause as you consider the implications. It's possible that this attack was religiously motivated or that the attackers deliberately targeted the church's representatives. You vow to investigate further and see if there are any clues or leads that can shed light on what happened. Additionally, the torn ritual cloth lying over the altar bears the emblem of the church, further confirming its connection. You realize that this is likely a site of some significance to the priests, and that the attack on the men may be related to some kind of religious dispute or conflict.
Athletics check to see if we can lift that card. 14. I don't know if that passes or not. Okay.
You approach the cart, hoping to find some clues or information that can help shed light on what happened. As you get closer, you realize that the cart is quite heavy and difficult to move. You attempt to lift it up, using your strength to try and flip it over. However, the cart proves to be too heavy for you to lift alone. Determined to investigate further, you call on your companions for help. Together, you use your combined strength to lift the cart and flip it over. As you do, you notice that the contents of the cart have spilled out onto the ground. Among the wreckage, you see supplies and equipment that appear to belong to priests. You carefully sift through the debris, looking for any clues or information that can help you understand what happened. As you search, you notice several items that seem out of place or unusual, including a blood-stained cloth, ornate box that has been smashed open. The box appears to have once held something important, but it has been taken or destroyed. As you examine the box, the symbols and decorations on it catch your eye, and you realize that they are similar to those in a story you once heard. You also find a broken holy symbol. You make note of these findings, hoping that they will provide some insight into what happened.
Fail.
As you sift through the wreckage of the cart, you notice an ornate box that has been smashed open. The box appears to have once held a minor relic, but it has been taken or destroyed. As you examine the box, the symbols and decorations on it don't seem familiar to you. You make note of the discovery, but it doesn't seem particularly relevant to the situation at hand. You continue to investigate the scene, hoping to find some other clues or information that can help shed light on what happened.
Just look through, see if there's anything to investigate. I think that is the end of that branching, since we've gone through everything. So if we had more successes, we could have gone a little bit further. But we got pretty close to the end there. So we'll elect to, at that time, leave and
Eventually, you determine that the danger has passed, and you start to make your way out of the area. You feel a sense of relief as you leave the scene behind, but you also know that the memory of what you saw will stay with you for a long time to come.
Okay. So that's one example of one encounter that I've put together. And anyways, if you have any feedback for me, any suggestions, let me know. I really like it. I think that it's pretty fun to run through. And if you guys want to try something like that, this is just an example of what you can do with journals.